guys, because it appears that I'm running about 7 minutes late. Again, let me say I apologize that I'm running about 7 minutes late. Welcome to another edition of the Grim Preacher podcast. And the topic at hand tonight is who says Israelites are a black race or a white race. So just bear with me. I'm looking at the watch page. Unless my watch page is running slow, I'm actually still saying please stand by. You really ought to make something where you can start checking the watch page to see if it's up and working before the broadcast is started. But this whole thing about whether the Israelites are a black race or a white race at the core warned us that many false Christ would rise in the last days, in the latter times, and that many also false prophets would arise. And wherever there's false Christ and false prophets, there's also false apostles, teachers. It seems like everybody wants to shoot off their mouth about this, that, having received this revelation from God or that revelation from God by special knowledge or by a dream or by vision or some other opening of the scripture that's unique to them and their party. Usually, more often than not, these are people who tend to be wresting the scriptures to their own harm. So with that all being said, let's open up our Bibles to the book of Genesis, because I'm not going to play around with this. And I just want you to gloss through, first of all, Genesis chapter 10, just so we can get an understanding that Abraham comes as a descendant, a first level or immediate descendant of Shem, the son of Noah, but down the line, he's a descendant of Shem. The first couple of verses of Genesis chapter 10, and understand that Genesis 10 is dealing with the lineages of Noah's three sons, Shem, or Shem, Ham, and Japheth. In the first couple of verses deal with the sons Japheth, and then as you go down, it starts going on after it names the sons of Japheth and their sons and the lineages that and nations that came up out of them. It deals with the sons, starting in verse 6, the sons of Ham and their offspring, and the nations that arose out of them. And by the time we get down to verse 21, it starts naming the sons of Shem and their offspring and the nations and so forth, lineages that arose up out of them. When we get down into, let's see, I'm looking for the verse speaks of the line that Abraham uh, came from. Okay, actually, it goes into it. It's reiterated in Genesis 11, picking up in verse uh, 10. It says that Shem's descendant ultimately became the great, 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 great grandfather of Abraham. If you follow that tree down, the same text in Genesis in reveals Abraham came from where? Take a look at verse uh, uh, 27. It says, now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abraham, Nahor, and Haran begot Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees. You jump down to verse 31, and it says, and Terah took Abram, his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, and Sarah, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, came unto Haran and dwelt there. In the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. But the focus there is in verse 31, is that Father Terah from where Ur of the Chaldees. Ur of the Chaldees, and that's important for you to remember. I want you guys to take a break. For any of you who don't already know this, just Google is Ur of the Chaldees. That I'll give you about 30 seconds. For those of you who already know it, feel free to take a moment to hum the theme song from Jeopardy or something. I know what you're thinking. You're saying the preacher is found himself tonight. No, I just don't want you to be bored while you're waiting for those who don't already know it to catch up. But anyway, I'll give you another 10 seconds. And we're back. Now, if you had time to Google that, you now know that Ur of the Chaldees is in, let's say, the southern part of what is now called Iraq. Ding, 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 ding. Iraq. Abraham was from Iraq. Let's go a little further here because I'm building up to something. Something else. Now that we established that Abraham is from Iraq, and you can also see Genesis 16:7 and Nehemiah 9:7 to confirm yet again other scriptures pointing to the fact that God called Abraham out of Ur the Chaldees. Also established in Genesis that Abraham had a wife named Sarai, renamed Sarah, who turned out in the scripture to revealed also as being Abraham's half sister. Abraham, as we've already established, was Chaldean. He was from Ur the Chaldees. Her being his sister would also have been from Ur of the Chaldees. But if you want to reference that Sarah, his sister, look at Genesis chapter 20, verse 12. These scriptures are important because we must see from the scripture where the Israelites, the nation of Israel, get their base stock people as a distinguished people, or rather a distinct people, before we get into this whole argument about whether they are a black race or white race. Abraham is explaining in Genesis 20 to King Abimelech as to why Abraham deceived Abimelech into thinking that Sarah was his sister, really merely his sister, because Abimelech had took Sarah, be very beautiful, took her as a wife for himself and was going to lay with her, but God held it up. God made so it didn't happen, so that Abimelech wouldn't commit a great sin, because it would have been adultery. So Abimelech, after God reveals to him the situation that Sarah is really Abraham's wife, then Abimelech brings Abraham into question, and he's like, why did you do this thing? Why did you deceive me? So Abraham's response to Abimelech was, because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place. 11, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. And yet, indeed, she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. Became my wife. So she was his half sister. That Sarah was his half sister by his father, yet not his mother. So Sarah, the daughter also of Terah the Chaldean. So Abram is a Chaldean who married his half sister, the daughter of his father, who was a Chaldean, making her a Chaldean. So this is a Chaldean between Abram and Sarah, or Sarai. So going forward, what's the next step on the lineage chain? Well, Abraham and Sarah together, being both Chaldean, when they bear forth their promised son, the son of both of their, of Abraham's seed and Sarah's egg, their biological son, made up of both of them, Isaac, because both of them were Chaldean, then necessarily their biological son, Yitzhak, Isaac, was also Chaldean. Who did? A wife. Well, he took Rebecca as his wife. Rebecca was the granddaughter of Abraham's brother Nahor. Nahor, also, like Abraham's brother, the son of Terah, as we covered back in Genesis chapter 11. So Nahor, being the son of Terah the Chaldean, was also a Chaldean. Granddaughter Rebecca then was also a Chaldean. Genesis 22:23 and chapter 24, verses 15 through 67. And so there's no confusion. When I said Genesis 22:23, I meant Genesis chapter 22, verse 23, explaining the lineage of Rebecca, both of those scriptures. Since we understand that Isaac was Chaldean and Rebecca was Chaldean, then their sons were Chaldean. Yes, I'm referring now to Esau and Jacob, who was Jacob was later renamed Israel. Now, because Jacob, the father of the tribes of Israel, for which they get their name, was pardon me, because Jacob was Chaldean by blood, and we're about to see in Genesis 28, got his wives, or two of his wives, the main two, which was Leah and Rachel. Who were his cousins. In fact, they were his cousin, his uncle Laban's daughters, them being Chaldeans, and Jacob Chaldeans. That means half, at least half, of the 12 tribes of Israel, named after the 12 sons of Jacob, were Chaldean. At the base, being fully Chaldean. Totally and fully Chaldean. In fact, I'm looking for the scripture again, into the children that each bore, that Leah and Rachel bore for Jacob, that they bore for Israel. Okay, I was at Genesis 28, 8:5, and it says Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Paddan Aram unto Laban, son of Bethuel the Syrian, the brother uh, 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 Rebecca. So okay, I misspoke. Laban wasn't Jacob and Esau's uncle, but rather he was their first cousin, the son of their uncle. And this is when Isaac meets Rachel, and not Isaac. Israel meets Rachel. Jacob meets Rachel. Falls head over heels in love for her, but his cousin Laban makes him work 7 years to marry his daughter, and then the old switcheroo at the end. He gives him the older, less pretty sister Leah. He says it's not his custom their custom there to marry the younger daughter before the older daughter. So in order to get Rachel as his wife, Jacob winds up having to work for Laban an additional 7 years to get her. And so Rachel begat 2 sons, the last 2 sons for Jacob, that being Joseph and Benjamin. So that those 2 lines began as a purely Chaldean stock. Apparently, although Laban's father had migrated from Chaldea to Syria at some point. Now Leah, I know of the sons that Leah begat him. Leah begat Judah. In fact, I believe it was 4 sons. I'm trying to find the list. Leah can see, okay, it's in Genesis 29. She bore a son and called his name Reuben. And Leah conceived again and called that son's name Simeon. She begat again and called his name another son Levi, and begat later or last of her sons apparently Judah. So that's 4: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah from Leah, Chaldean who migrated to Syria, of a Chaldean father, Jacob, Leah's first cousin, once removed, and Joseph and Benjamin, born of that Chaldean by blood father, Jacob, and a Chaldean by blood mother, Rachel, who again whose paternal line had migrated from Chaldea to Syria, yet they were Chaldeans. These lines, those 6 lines at least, of the children of Israel were fully Chaldean at the root, at the base. When the tribes of Israel got started. So we already established that Ur the Chaldees was in southern Iraq. So we have at least 6 tribes of Israel whose lineage from the time of Abraham, Jacob, and his wives' lineage was founded within the borders of what we now call Iraq. Now, by show of hands, please, how many black people do you know that are native to Iraq? I don't know any. There's some there at one point, as Nimrod has set up his kingdom within what we would now call Mesopotamia, much of which is within the borders of Iraq, and Shinar was in the borders of Iraq, but Nimrod, the son of Cush, whose kingdom was at Shinar, apparently when the Tower of Babel happened, or was being built, when the people all spoke one voice, Nimrod as a son of Cush, and his descendants would be sons of Ham, for Cush was a son, which necessarily then they are not children of Ham's brother Shem, whom Abraham is from. So that clarifies that. And after the town, or rather after the people of Shinar were confused at the language and God scattered them, not only confounded the language, but he apparently divided up the earth and scattered them all over the face of the globe. The people started flocking together and going to the nations where the people grouped in those who spoke the same language and similar tongues. We see that Ham's people, as we know the most notable ones, Egypt, Mizraim, and Cush, presently known as understood by most scholars to be Ethiopia, they migrated into the African continent, land of Shinar. So by the time we get to the breakdown with Abraham and whatnot, we got people largely of the Iraqi look living in that space. For the African peoples, or people we would presently identify as Africans, the sons of Ham, had went out from them already. Canaan, remember Canaan is also a son of Ham, had already been populated by the time Abram got there. Understanding that, I want you to hop on Google, and I'm wrapping it up really, on Google, and just look at the pictures of the Chaldeans, or the sculptings and the paintings and the artwork, and you'll see that they are features distinct from Africans and also distinct from people that we commonly refer to as Caucasians. They look neither black nor white. Now, as you just go through those, I can tell you that the Iraqis that I know and have met in my lifetime personally, like stout noses, like angular noses, that sort of like pointy in here. Uh, the heads are of different shape, but they normally have sort of narrow eyes, and they have a generally like in complexion. I wouldn't call them brown. They're certainly not white. They certainly don't look anything like the people there in Israel that are Jews presently thought to be, let me speak more correctly, thought to be Israelites. Um, so it brings into question there is a level of credibility to those who take the scripture and make the point that they do not believe that the biblical Israelites are a white complected people. Now, conversely, by these same scriptures, the counterclaim that the biblical Israelites are not a black complected people can also be made. And I want you to look at a chart. I hope the camera can pick up something I picked up in Harlem back in November. I think this one was from Pastor or Elder Tazadakia. Uh, uh, I guess it would be a temple or a synagogue. Black Israelite assembly over on what was that? Was that between 123rd and 124th Street on Madison or something like that up in Harlem? We got this from some of them. If you can see at the bottom of the screen, let me see if I can get a little closer. Who is saying that the 12 tribes of Israel are out? It's saying that. Can I get it in closer? I don't know if it's going to pick it up. But if you can't make that out clearly, what it's saying is Judah Negroes, the American blacks who were brought over to the black people in America is saying is the tribe of Judah. Those of us who were brought over as part of the transatlantic slave trade is saying that Benjamin or the West Indians and Levi, I guess, because many Haitian Christians are poor, not having a lot of money, but a lot of them are very religious, very devout. It's the only thing I can gather of it. It's saying Ephraim or Ephraim is Puerto Ricans. They're saying that Manasseh is Cubans. It's saying that Simeon is Dominicans. Reuben is Seminole Indians. They're saying that Gad is North American Indians. He is Argentinians and Chileans. Zebulon, they're saying, is Guatemalans and Panamanians. They're saying that Asher is Colombians and Uruguayans, and they're saying that Issachar is Mexican Indians. Uh, so listen, we just read that at least Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Simeon, Reuben, and Joseph. I just realized I don't see Joseph on this list. But we just read that they started off of a full Chaldean bloodline. How did they become Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, Dominicans, Seminole Indians? Those people look anything like the people who are native. There were still Chaldeans around. Matter of fact, there's a Chaldean population in Iraq now. Is long in biblical time mentioned even into the days of Nebuchadnezzar. None of these people look like the people on this list. These people are lying. They're plain and simple liars. But I want you also to notice something, that all of the people on this list whom they name, whom the black Tazadaki's Black Hebrew Israelite group named as the notice that all of them are where? Of this side of the world, the Western Hemisphere. They're peoples found in North America, Central America, and the Gulf of Mexico. How can these be? Well, even if we take out the tribe of Judah, since they throughout the various captivities and bringing back stayed until 70 AD when Jerusalem was burned down. Rest of the groups, how could all of them be the people of the disbursement of the scattering that God did, when God said beforehand pertaining to when the Israelites would disobey him, what he would do? He said he would scatter them of all the earth. These people are only found in North America, Central America, South America, and the Gulf of Mexico. At large, these groups of people are not scattered over the face of the earth, but they are limited to one side of the world at large. You are a liar. You are groups of liars. Whether you say that the core are a white race of people, you're a liar. The scripture says so. If you say that the Israelites at the core are a black race of people, you are a liar. The true biblical Israelites, at least 6 tribes of them, that being again Levi, Simeon, Reuben, Joseph, and Benjamin, should look like Iraqis. Abraham was from what is presently called Iraq. His wife was his half-sister of the same father. She was from that same land which is currently within the borders of Iraq. Their son, their biological son Isaac, Abraham sent his servant, got a wife of people of Abraham's own family got a daughter from them to wife Isaac, his biological son. So Isaac was a Chaldean by blood, and who married a relative of his mother and father, who necessarily then would be Chaldean by blood. Isaac and his wife Rebekah, both being of Chaldean blood, produced children of Chaldean blood, one of which was Jacob, was then Chaldean by blood, even though he grew up in the land of Canaan. And Jacob, Israel by God, when he fled from the wrath of his brother Esau, went back and came unto his own people, the nephew of his mother, Laban, and Jacob married two of his first cousin once removed, Laban's daughters, and Leah, who account for 6 of his 12 sons. 6 of the 12 tribes of Israel, Rachel and Leah, were Chaldean by blood, even though apparently their father's father had moved or had migrated to Syria. So Rachel and Leah were Chaldean by blood, and Jacob, their husband, being Chaldean by blood. Those two sisters produced 6 of the 12 sons of Israel. Reuben, Levi, Judah, whom King David, King Solomon, and Jesus all came from. Moses and Aaron came from Levi. And also the sons by Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin, all of them were fully Chaldean, fully from borders of blood, fully of a people whose nativity was in what is presently Iraq. The Israelites should look like the Chaldeans that are in Iraq. For Israelites are a displaced, a set apart, a consecrated Chaldean people who were sent by God in Abraham to live in the land of Canaan, ultimately to receive it as an inheritance. Stop saying that Israelites are at the core black or must be a black race of people. Stop saying that Israelites at the core are a white race of people or must be white. For either side of those coins, wrong. They're both lies, and the scripture just exposed you. Boop! Your bubble just got popped. This has been another edition of the Grim Preacher Podcast. I hope you've been edified and enlightened. Here, with the Spirit of God has shed light upon, and receive it.